Okay, we're 100% live. Making sure that the computer is at a decent temperature before I start, because there could be a potential buildup of dust in the back, and I know that it's taking in a lot of air. So that way it flows through, flows through the computer, but it's also generating a lot more heat. So I'm gonna have to open the computer up, look inside, see how much dust is being collected, and just uh, take take the computer to take a vacuum to the computer. So that's most likely what I'm gonna have to do. If it's gonna keep heating up quicker than it has before. So okay. But aside from that, episode 10, Grand Slam. This is also another thing that I wanted to discuss for a little while now. And in some ways, this is actually big. This is not just big for WWE and AEW. I guess you could say in terms of some storylines, but this also could be big for just everything as an entirety, seeing as how we are coming out of this pandemic very, very slowly but surely. We're kind of getting close to the end of it as when it comes to this pandemic. So it was announced that AEW and WWE right around the same time would return to live arenas in July. I think AEW was going to do this at the beginning of July. WWE was going to do this on July 16th. They were going to start doing their 25 city tour on July 17th. And let's see, AEW, they didn't really say which cities they were going to go to, but they do kind of announce which arenas and other venues they're going to show up to next, and when tickets go on sale. So that's when you'll figure out what cities they'll be at once they hit the road again. AEW's Double or Nothing, everybody already knew this, but that's going to be hosted in front of a full capacity crowd at the Daly's place. So that should definitely be exciting to see a full capacity crowd back in an AEW arena again. As far as WWE's case, I'm not sure what they're going to do, because WWE is very, very, very infamous for taking all the fans that are there, that basically are there to watch live. They're very infamous of taking all of their fans and putting them and scrunching them into one spot, because the hard camera is always on. Say you're coming in, you're the superstar or the wrestler that's coming out to the ring, and you're facing the ring, and the fans are on your left, and there's just basically a bunch of empty stands on your right. So WWE is very infamous for doing this, and they tend to keep a lot of their camera crews on the right hand side, basically kind of looking out towards the crowd. For that reason, sometimes there will be some arenas where they'll take them and put them on the left side and the crowd on the right, basically kind of just to make it look full, make it look sold out. So even though I think I've seen pictures of AEW kind of doing something similar to this, but then again, that it is what it is. That's why you'll find the independent, more smaller venues like Impact or Ring of Honor or MLW, just to name off a few companies. I feel like those are the most real ones, because just from the aspect of fans, where you'll see them all the way around the ring. So that's something that I just think is actually very interesting. But no, this as far as signs, I mean, this is actually a very, very big sign that we're starting to come out of this pandemic. WrestleMania for WWE was a pretty good example of that, because that was their first live pay-per-view since the March 9th edition of Raw. I'm talking main roster, by the way. And then you have the March 11th edition of NXT. That was their last ever NXT performed live. And it was at the Performance Center of all places, and I figured out the reason for it, and it was to celebrate something. And then and then after that, that's where they were for the last 4 months. They were basically placed in the Performance Center until they created the Thunderdome, and then they kind of took that, which the Thunderdome honestly is a lot smaller than I expected. I thought it was going to be a little bit bigger. I thought it would be put in like a smaller venue that would actually fill the room, but it's not. It's placed in a baseball stadium. And it's a lot smaller than the baseball stadium, which, that's in some cases surprising. So, I mean, I figured this out during the Royal Rumble. I kind of figured that out. But, that's just what I managed to see. But storyline wise, this could also be very, very big. I mean, especially for WWE, because they've been rumoring this Rock Roman Reigns storyline that would lead all the way up to WrestleMania 38, which that would be huge, and I feel like that would be best to be held in front of a live audience. This storyline to carry out all the way to WrestleMania in front of a live audience, and I definitely would have a feeling that they would just do such an amazing job at what they do. 100%. I mean, Roman Reigns, ever since he was reinvented into the Tribal Chief, this gimmick has just been amazing throughout these last 9 months now that he's been back on television. And as Universal Champion, he's held the title for 9 months. This is the longest that he's ever held the Universal Championship. And this is all thanks to Paul Heyman, by the way. Paul Heyman, I feel like, was the one that pitched this idea for him to be this Tribal Chief, and he's making it work. Roman Reigns is making it work. And this is all thanks to the help of Paul Heyman. 100%. Brock, always been a really good performer in the ring. I mean, even after he was on a 7-year hiatus because of his movie career, and then he comes back, he gives back to the business, and he still got it. And even after all these years, at 40-something years old, in his mid-40s, he is still in the best shape of his life. After all these years. Looks like he hasn't even changed a bit since he came back in 2011. So, we've got a really good storyline that is looking more and more and more possible in the eyes of both Reigns and The Rock. It's looking more possible to the fans. I mean, this would be a really good storyline for World Wrestling Entertainment. This just, I mean, I don't know what other words you could use to describe that storyline. It's just big money and big box office right there. As far as AEW's case, I mean, maybe they could come up with some storylines. I'm not sure. But I feel like there are some storylines that I think would be best for a live crowd. I'm not sure which ones yet. We have yet to figure out if there's going to be any other wrestlers that are going to be going to AEW that are big box office names, not just on the indie scene, but also formula in WWE as well, we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, hell, if Jeff Hardy leaves and goes to AEW, that could be the revival of the Matt and Jeff rivalry, or even the tag team. That's just me. But yeah, that's really all I have to say. Thank you guys a lot for watching. If you guys liked the video, go ahead, give it a like. If you have not considered subscribed yet, I recommend you do so in order to keep up with some fine content coming out in the near future. And that about does it for me. I'll see you in the next one.